Like saying, I would never steal.
Yes.
Or let's make it
Until
a
you're-
more
until
miraculous.
you're hungry.
Thief. You understand?
Until you're hungry.
But when you
Yes.
are exposed,
Yes.
just like saying your greatest test is when you're at your lowest.
Yeah.
So I think that as we journey talking about almost here now is maintaining a monogamous stroke faithful relationship, it seemed to me that it is something that you can't take for granted.
Right.
Let's put it out there.
You can't.
Right? You can say never, even though some persons will still say never, and I understand
Never
that
say
place
never.
from which we are coming from. When we say never, it's
Yeah,
just
but I'm telling you.
it's just that you are not thinking about it. You have never entertained the thought. It would be remiss to embrace that in the same line of talking about me, because my character is not that, and I can understand that kind of, declaration.
Yes.
On the other side, the never say never is just because we are in our human self, and humanity at its best can be at its worst because of our reality, meaning our experiences.
Right.
So let's say, and I think the point is made, but I want to concretize the point, before I move on to something. It's like saying, I would never steal.
Yes.
Or let's make it
Until
a more miraculous.
you're hungry.
Thief. You understand?
Until you're hungry.
But when you are exposed, just like saying your greatest test is when you're at your lowest.
Yeah.
But alright, having said that, I am now looking on how to preserve this monogamous relationship of fidelity.
Yes.
That there's choices need to be a part of the process. And this is what I want to educate our views on us and remind ourselves. Choices here meaning now, if I know these possibilities of how it can breach in relating to our opposite sex. It's a case about a helper. Why not make a choice of getting a helper who would be most unlikely to be appealing to your husband?
That's right. And for me, that's important.
Isn't that
it is
that you can't get a very give me a word for a young lady.
Very sexy. I mean,
those kind of words.
Very appealing is the word. Well, if you want me to use appealing, but if you ask me for another word, it's sexy. Right.
To be a house attendant, and worse yet, that there'll be hours with your husband because of your own work schedule, which involves traveling abroad, and now you are asking for
problems.
Yes,
that's right. Problems.
Come back to the come back and in another way.
Live in help again. Live
even
in
so
versus live out. Yeah.
Why not protect yourself then, Bishop? Is a man of God to ensure that some of the closer persons to you are of the other gender.
Yes.
Now in these days, now you have to also speak over there, so because the other gender can be a problem for some bishops. But anyhow, whoever is less attractive, attractive to you, you need to now make some choices.
That's right.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
So that you are in your bishopric office and pastoral office, and you have a very attractive single secretary.
That's right.
Yes? Who is a female. Let's not assume that secretary have to be, but in this case clarify.
Yes.
And you even, after the administrative staff and members and church gone, and you're there perhaps checking up on the money, and you have to be wise. You have to bring in your chief usher to stay over your armor bearer as a man to be there.
In other words, don't set a bait.
Right.
Don't set a bait. Exactly.
Yes, and that's so we are talking about how choices must help us to preserve what we claim to believe in and are pursuing, because this is very critical to success.
And that's a critical point. Even the situation I told you about with me, I made a deliberate act to separate from that friendship, because I recognize that you could have jeopardized a good working relationship because or a good friendship because you've breached your personal space, you know. So your professional space.
You know, as we journey, just this week actually, that a co-worker of mine was sharing about a professional relationship and something quite platonic, and with somebody who it was really just about, you might say, adding figures and so on. But as she said to me that the person who was of the other gender started to have frequent discussions, and it still was about work-related matters and so on. But to make a long story short, that before long, this person whom she had no ulterior thought and motive of, and he at the best had nothing about, that he started feeling and acting differently towards her. You know? And all I'm saying to empower the conversation is that once we are living in these bodies, we have the potential of responding to what the body is asking for, what the body is dictating.
That's right.
And consequently, it's a real monitoring, managing of our lives daily, so that we can preserve what we have come to believe in.
That's right.
Yeah,
I agree.
Let's shift focus then, not on the subject, still on the subject, but just a different point to look at. There are consequences. We're talking about maintaining monogamous relationship. There are consequences, I believe, when this is broken down. From your perhaps readings, your interaction, Natalie, from your exchange with other persons, perhaps you could share first and help us to understand what are some of the obvious, consequences you may see.
Right. Well, when it's broken down, it can cause dire devastation. And I know before we even got on set, we were talking a little bit about how it affects the male versus the female. And if you want, we can dive a little bit more in that, because I find that it's like it's accepted. I know, for example, here in Jamaica, as if it's accepted if your husband cheats, then it's fine. You're supposed to forgive him. You're supposed to get over it, regardless of how devastating it is, which as a counselor, women will tell you, it's like it's just as hard to get past, because you start comparing yourself with the person who your husband would have cheated with, and other things, so it's something that it's not easy to get past. But then you have on the flip side the men who, I've seen a lot of cases where it's the men who is the cheater, right, or the person committing the act. It's easier for the women to get past it and to forgive, and for their reconciliation comes a little easier.
All right.
But on the flip side, it's a different thing.
But let us see if we can crystallize a view on both sides, if you will. So for the woman who is hurt, the man expects her perhaps to forgive.
Yes.
Is there also an expectation of society?
It's an expectation. That's the point.
How about the church of which you belong to? Not necessarily the local church, but I mean the Christian church.
The Christian church. we talk about a place for forgiveness in the church, generally speaking.
So will they? What do you suppose might be the reaction if you were to take a drastic step and just walk away? Close shop, walk away, it's done, finish, over, punto finale.
Well, the church, to be honest, the church tend to want to encourage reconciliation. Yes, on both sides.
Or this kind, okay, I'll come to another point on that. Alright, so the other side now, when it is, the violation is done by the
female.
Right, the wife.
The wife, yeah.
Is there expectation?
Society
what?
Expect you to not forgive. Right? It's as if it's the norm for men. They feel betrayed, so you're not supposed to forgive, and this woman is so bad, and you're so ashamed, and the woman has caused you such distress and disgrace. It's a totally different story when it's the woman who is a perpetrator.
Okay. Alright.
And if you don't mind, even the church, even though we preach reconciliation and healing and so on.
Yes.
If you don't mind, it's almost want to look at the same way if we're not careful.
Alright. You know, where I want to take my viewers going down this stretch as we will wrap in short order is what represents for me my own response to it. Meaning, it is one thing to identify that these realities exist. Though we have not expanded on the impact that it causes, I want to look at the solution. But just to say about the impact will vary according to what was involved.
Right.
For example, if the infidelity brings about an offspring, if the infidelity is repeated multiple times, and all those kinds of, so the worse the crime is, like the greater the punishment. So the impact can be significant for the individual, for the church that they're involved in, if it runs up into leadership and those things. The society too.
Yes.
We have seen high profile, be it politicians and leaders of society, have been implicated and losing out on positions and all those kinds of things.
Because of it, yes, true.
But I'm asking rhetorically because I want to weigh in on myself, is there a place for healing when there is this breaking down in the monogamous relationship?
Yes, there is a place for healing.
Yeah.
And I have always been of the view that anything can mend.
Yes.
Once you put God on it, anything can mend.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding that though, I think it will take it will take a lot of counseling.
Yeah.
Especially if it's the woman who has committed the crime. The crime. Because as I said before, for men, you're talking about so respect means so much to them, that you're talking about a bruised ego that they can never recover from.
Yes.
Also, who knows about it?
Yeah.
Having a if the man feels like nobody knows about it, it's perhaps a little easier for him. But when you know it, you're exposed.
Yeah.
There goes with respect going down for you again. So the woman doesn't respect you. How could she have, committed something like this against you, such an act? And so it will take somebody, a counselor who you can really trust.
Yeah.
To sit with you and work through the issues and bring both of you, especially the perpetrator, into a level of accountability that is going to be at a high standard. Because one, you have to be honest about it. You have to be willing to be open and honest, and honest about it. If you're open and honest about this, then it's easier for you to get over it. It's easier for you to not do it again. Because when you hide it and you think you're getting away from something, then what happens is that you feel safer and you feel like, oh, I can do this and get away with it. When you are exposed and you are being held accountable, then there's a greater chance of you just remembering that I can't do this and I'm being watched. For example, if you bring it to, like, if you're and your pastor is close, then you know there's a greater chance that your pastor may hold you accountable. You know, now you have somebody's expectation to live up to. So that in itself will help with the healing process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very well. Well, putting my own wrap on it, I like the view shared that a counselor that you trust.
Yes.
I like the view you shared about honesty.
Yeah.
Because those are critical elements. So this is it, wrapping. That I'm a consummate optimist. You put it another way, like I believe with God, anything can be mended.
Yes.
And I'm like a consummate optimist who believes in healing. But the 1, 2, 3, there are some critical things in this. The timing of when it is brought to the fore, who it is brought to.
Yes.
Let's in this case assume that it is not the party that you have offended. Yes. The preparation for the innocent party before disclosure. Because those are critical things. Yes. And with genuine repentance.
Yeah.
Because pointless coming just for me to know, but there's a continuation of saying. So counseling has to take place along those lines.
That's right.
And like you said, that accountability must be there so that the person charters a new way going forward.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think for too many times healing really does not take place in some of these relationships because it is not handled properly.
That's true. That is so true. Yes.
And although a party may have, you know, that's why counseling is so important. A party may have come clean.
Yeah.
But you don't have, I dare even say, the moral right to hasten the pace at which the normalcy, you know, is returned.
Right.
You know, as if nothing ever happened. So
That's
you have to give time for the grieving party. But also on the flip side is important for the grieving party not to go into an abnormal state of grieving.
Right.
Like I close by saying this.
Yes.
I heard it was perhaps an African, you know, woman and this church and so every time it gets well, not every time, but on this occasion, there these ladies gathered and perhaps what was this particularly? A few of them, one particular I think, and she was crying her eyes out. You know, and you know the ladies supported and you know thinking was having a big problem and so on. But the end of the story, they said, what really is your issue, sister? She says, I remember last year or 5 years ago, this very month, when my husband did XYZ, which is the infidelity. So 5 years ago, on this date in September, was when she found out. Now, all I'm saying...
she's grieving. Oh, so she has the anniversary morning.
The anniversary morning. Now you put it exactly what it was said. So you cannot allow for a perpetuation of what I call abnormal grief.
That's right.
But the healing needs a support of the offender.
Yes.
Understanding.
Yes, I agree.
So it's a mutually, you know, agreed upon path.
Yes.
But I believe in healing.
I agree. I believe in it too.
Here we are. We are agreeing on the fact that monogamous relationship is a perspective that we hold dear. And it is very authentic from the biblical support that we embrace. And we also believe that things will go awry in some instances when care is not taken, and persons end up in positions like these. But we agree and believe that there is healing for the greatest transgression. This is the New Foundation Christian Ministries coming to you on the B1 Marriage Ministry video podcast. We hope you have really enjoyed this discourse, and Natalie momentarily is going to tell you how to keep in touch as you share your views with us.
Yes, thank you so much, Bishop. I want to thank our viewers again for tuning in each week. Remember to subscribe to our New Foundation Christian Ministries, and on Facebook at New Foundation Christian Ministries, and also remember to follow us on Instagram at B1 Marriage Ministry. I want to thank our resident producer George Malcolm Walker, our program development coordinator Damian De Aguilar. I also want to shout out our sponsor Mattox Health and Fitness, who has been diligent each week to ensure that our podcast is successful. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.
Next time. See you.